Hey, welcome to the Rundown with Ramon. My name is Ramon Ray, and this is the Rundown with Ramon. I'm the publisher of zoneofgenius.com, and all we ask is 30 minutes of your time to give you the top 10 things you need to know to live your best life or start or grow your business. You're in for a treat today. Well, let me stop. I'm in for a treat today because you're here today watching the Rundown with Ramon, and I'm so glad you're here. I hope your day has been pretty darn fantastic. If your day has not been so good so far, well, I hope a bit of time with the Rundown with Ramon can make it much easier. If your day has been pretty good and you're feeling great, I'm honored to say that I can be a small part of your day to make your day that much better. So once again, welcome to the Rundown with Ramon, and I'm glad you're here today. If you want to connect with me, you can do so. DM me on Instagram, Ramon Ray Smart Hustle, or just find me across a number of platforms. DM me, connect with me, and say, "Hey, Ramon, I'd love to hear from you." So with that, let's move forward today. We have a special edition of the Rundown with Ramon. I want to talk to you about branding. We have many business owners who watch the Rundown with Ramon, and we find that branding is often something very important, something they may not understand. And we get these principles from Brand Master Academy, and I want to touch on this for you, Brand Master Academy. This insight comes from them. And here's what they say: so many businesses fall into the easy road branding trap. Get yourself a well-designed logo and visual identity. Get your website up, run traffic to your product, and you're in business. It's a trap because this isn't branding. Developing visual brand assets can be categorized as branding, though it's only a very small slice of a much bigger pie. Branding is about making a business the most appealing choice, the intended audience to ultimately influence their buying decisions. Now, to do this effectively, you need a guiding compass, is what our friends at Brand Master Academy say. And I want to bring you into a blog post they wrote, and I want to walk us through what this means. So, one point they talk about is the aspect of it's important to be different, not just better. Yes, we want to be the best we can be. Brand Academy said that the most successful and most loved brands in the world are not necessarily the best, but they're almost always unique. When you think about the brand difference between BMW and Mercedes-Benz, arguably speaking, they're very, very similar vehicles. I'm sure that the brand influencers on both sides would say, no, Ramon, they're vastly different. But I would say arguably they're probably very similar. But they have some unique, some differentiating features, I'm sure, that those who use a BMW or that those who have a Mercedes-Benz would know. Right, you have a Toyota Camry and another competing product from another brand, arguably, possibly very similar. But it's that brand story behind the brands that I think make the difference as we're striving as business owners to be different and not just better. What does it say here? The most successful and the most loved brands in the world are not necessarily the best, but they're almost always unique. So I would ask yourself, what can you do to separate yourself from the competition? What can you do to showcase how different, I would dare say, how unique your brand is? Because if you can't do that, I would dare say, how in the world then can you win the game of brand identity? And it is indeed a game, as it were, of brand identity. Specificity and relevance wins. There are few markets today that aren't full of noisy competitors scrapping for the attention of their shared audiences. This is very important. If you're saying we're marketing to everyone, that's very hard diffusion, and I get it. But the more specific you are, even if you have multiple buckets as your business grows and matures, the better you will be. Some brands attempt to speak the loudest with aggressive and constant marketing campaigns, which is not cheap. While that's one strategy, it's out of reach for most brands because of the cost. You have a brand like Pepsi or a brand like Coca-Cola. They spend billions, I would guess, of dollars per year to keep their brand at our attention because they're trying to talk to everyone when you're out with your friends, when you're having a pizza party, when you want some drinks from the store, and you want a cold, refreshing drink. What are you going to choose? They spend billions to have you think of Pepsi or to have you speak of Coke or think of Coca-Cola. The guerrilla approach is specificity and relevance. The more specific you are about who you're targeting And the more directly you're able to speak to who they are, the more likely you're to resonate and influence. So again, everybody, if you're just joining me, my name is Ramon Ray. This is the Rundown with Ramon. Often we have 10 tips to help you live your best life and grow your business in 30 minutes. Once in a while, we sneak in a special episode and get very specific about life or business. Today, we're talking all about brand. Another point they're bringing out here, again, I want to give credit to where I'm getting this information from, Brand Master Academy, is the aspect of telling your story over the product. This is an important part to consider, an important part to think about. Sometimes we get so caught up in the product itself, we forget to tell the story behind it, which actually makes the connection to the person. Think about that. That's really important to consider. Most of our buying decisions as humans are made in our subconscious long before it ever reaches our consciousness. So brands must communicate on a higher level to engage the emotional brand. What is that talking about? You have two brands that come to mind for me. The best part of waking up is Folgers in your cup. They spent gazillions over the years playing that song. I wonder, is that part of the reason why so many of us like a coffee in the morning? Dunkin' Donuts, Starbucks, their lines are long early in the morning because they're telling a story. You have K Jewelers. What's their brand? Every kiss begins with K. How smart that was. Putting in our minds that romance and a kiss are triggered or best when you have the kiss is aligned with jewelry. So this story is so important, and you shouldn't forget that. It's the subconscious or subconsciousness that must be reached with our brand story even before we take action. The product is what will help the audience to achieve the end result, though it's rarely the product itself that influences the decision to buy. Most of our buying decisions as humans are made in our subconscious long before it ever reaches our consciousness. So brands must communicate on a higher level to engage the emotional brand. This is important. And they go on here and says a story is without a doubt one of the most effective forms of communication to engage the human mind and light up the neural connections. The story, and this I think goes to some degree, is why are we doing what we're doing? That's part of the story to convey you're not just doing it for any reason, you're doing it for a reason. You're fighting for a cause. You're waking up every day because of some reason. Simon Sinek is most known for telegraphing this to all of us. He has a famous book called Start With Why, which opened the idea to the belief that brands don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. Your why is essentially the reason you exist beyond money. Simon Sinek, he wrote this book, Start With Why. If you haven't read it, I would get it. While it's possible to connect your audience through your why, for most brands, internal connection with the brand's why is where the real power is. Article goes on and says the leadership team is clear on the brand's existence and use that to guide decisions and actions. That belief can become the driver behind the brand's success. You have a look at BMW. What do they say? Ultimate driving machine. It's reaching that subconsciousness of the buyer who's attracted to them. Are you doing this in your marketing? Are you reaching people beyond the surface level that I want to drink, but on the level that by drinking this, I will feel this way. I will connect to that brand's identity. That's your challenge that you get to do. Next up here, their challenges are your gateway. What does this mean? What consumers say and what they do are often two distinctly different things. When looking for a way to connect, find the subtext behind the challenge. That is powerful. For example, if a major challenge of a consumer is, I want to cook more, I just don't have the time, don't jump to the lazy approach, which might look like this. She's time poor. She values healthy eating. Let's put a focus on nutritional value. Could be. But if you go deeper, Although she says she wants to cook more, that's not what she really wants. She just doesn't want to feel guilty for ordering takeout all the time. Let's make her feel better about her choices. It's not about the time per se. It's about really, I want a healthy meal for my family, but I feel so bad because I'm not feeding them healthy because I don't have the time to do it. That's the choice we get to pick as marketers. How are we connecting with our audience? How are we making them feel? What is it that they truly want? But the point here is address the cognitive dissonance. Before we do that again, everybody, just in case you just joined in, you're flipping through the screen, you're like, hey, let me watch something. My name is Ramon Ray, publisher of zoneofgenius.com. I've started 5 companies, sold 3 companies, authored 5 books. Some people call me the small business expert. And this is the Rundown with Ramon. All we ask is about 30 minutes of your time, 30 minutes of your time to give you the top 10 things you need to know to live your best life or grow your business. Today's a special edition of the Rundown with Ramon, where we're talking about brand identity and branding. So address the cognitive dissonance. For example, if you hold the belief that you're a person of your word, yet you constantly fail to follow through on what you say you will, that's cognitive dissonance right there. If you hold the belief that you're a person of your word, yet you don't do it, your actions are not matching what you say you are, and that can be very dangerous, and that can happen in marketing. Inconsistency. Again, we're getting these insights from Brand Mastery Academy. Inconsistency between beliefs and actions causes friction with the law of consistency, which is our desire to be aligned with who we believe we are. We want to be something that we're not. When I watch the right movie, I'll pretend that I'm like Mr. Navy SEAL or Mr. Secret Service. I've researched them, I've studied them, I've watched so many movies and shows about them, much of which is not true, but much of it may be based on some element of the truth. But I'm not in the Navy, I'm not a Navy SEAL, I'm not a Special Forces guy or gal. I'm not in the U.S. Secret Service. I wish I was. When I was younger, wanted to be in the FBI, in fact, totally different branch, but you get my point. But I'm not. So I can't live life like that. And your branding shouldn't do that, saying, hey, we're the best in customer service. And then when I come to your store and ask for a refund, you curse me out. There's a problem with that. So I want you to think about what you're doing in your business. Moving forward, ding, 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 ding. Define the true enemy of your customer. Every target market shares common traits, adjectives, desires, fears, and enemies. An enemy is the most common pain point amongst your target market. What's their enemy? This could be a group of people. It could be a philosophy, a belief, an approach, or anything else that stands in the way of that audience ultimately achieving that goal. You have a look at some of my business mentors and business leaders over time. Seth Godin. What's the common enemy of people who follow Seth Godin? Don't hustle and go crazy outworking yourself. Build your business, build your brand to the size you want. You have a choice to be a freelancer or build a small business or work for a company. The common enemy is that we want to build businesses the way we want. We want to have that freedom. That's our common enemy or the common desire. So when you think about these things, you have Red Bull. It's people who are, Red Bull's projecting it to be the go hard in sports and rah, certain vibrancy that Red Bull's having. So as you're thinking about your own branding, thinking about your own marketing, recap that. What are we talking about today? Understand who the common enemy is. Ding, 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 ding. Identify their drive. What's the drive of the customers you wish to reach? This is very important to consider. And what does this mean? With every solution we buy, we're either running towards something or we're running away from something. Some consumers have an equally weighted fear and desire, while others are driven more by their desire or more by their fears. This is very important. What's the drive of the customer, of the person you seek to serve? Once you know what's driving them, what's propelling them, what's moving them forward, you can serve on that need. Some consumers have an equally weighted fear and desire, while others are driven more by their desires or more by their fears? Are they running towards something? I want to be a billionaire. Or is it running away from something? I never want to be poor. We grew up with nothing. Choose, make your pick of what you want to do. Positivity wins over negativity. This is an interesting point as well. The aspect, are you selling with positivity or selling with fear? Although fear has its place in almost any brand message to highlight the enemy and agitate the problem, this is a card that needs a filter. Very, very interesting. Any message you do can go either way, can be negative or positive for sure. Now, negative messaging, according to this article here by our friends at Brandmaster Academy, negative messaging highlight the fears that will most certainly drive action. That's true. That we also have a superhuman strength to turn a blind eye to negative pain. So they're saying, when possible, unless you've given it deep thought and the research that you're doing shows differently, err on the side of positivity. Err on the side of being positive. People oftentimes by default probably want to go towards the positive instead of running from the fear. Speak to their beliefs. Brand messages shouldn't all be about pushing product. When you focus on what they believe, you make impactful connections. And again, getting this insights from Brandmaster Academy, just going along here, sharing some amazing insight they've had. This whole aspect about speaking to people's beliefs. And we all have beliefs. Maybe some belief is I can only buy premium or only should buy premium. Maybe somebody's belief is I have to be cheap. Walmart, all about cheap, right? Target is all about not cheap, but good, but middle class, I think, right? Something like that. These might not provide immediate ROI, but the connections made influences future ROI and is branding at its purest. In the 2011s, on Black Friday, Patagonia ran an ad with the title, "Don't Buy This Jacket," which forced customers to think about the impact of their consumerism. Interesting. So play on people's beliefs. Play on people's beliefs. They spent part of their marketing budget telling consumers to do the exact opposite of what their marketing aims to do. But in putting off short-term sales, their message landed to increase brand loyalty. Interesting. That's even causing me to want to take a step closer to what that marketing was all about. Moving forward, ding, 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 be a step ahead. What does this mean? When you know what your customer will need in 2, 5, or 10 years' time, you can educate them on the impending need, nurture them towards your solution, and steal a march on your competitors or get ahead of your competitors. So this is interesting to understand how you can stay ahead. And what does this mean? While the challenges of today, definitely they represent kind of low-hanging fruit. You want to serve the needs of what people want today. Smarter brands consider, according to Brandmaster Academy, consider their customers' future challenges. Are you doing that? You're selling to customers today, but the question I want to ask you is, what will they need tomorrow? My friend Seth Godin featured here. Somebody who talks a lot about the tension. Turn up the tension, says this article as well, getting it from Seth Godin, my mentor. And what does this aspect of tension mean? Seth Godin talks about this all the time. Tension turns up the heat and produces a gravitational pull. When it comes to wants and needs, there are many possible outcomes. A good outcome, a bad outcome, or no outcome at all. Seth Godin spoke about the power of tension in an article. To earn our attention, there needs to be tension. The tension of how might this work out? The tension of possibility, the tension of change. This might work, this might not work. The tension of maybe. So as you find, according to this article here, the most relevant possibilities, turn up the tension. Crank it up. Once again, my name is Ramon Ray. This is the Rundown with Ramon. All we ask is 30 minutes of your time to give you the top 10 things you need to live your best life or try to grow your business. Today's a special episode of the Rundown with Ramon talking about branding. Make your audience the hero. We hear this a lot in the story brand concept by Donald Miller. Make your audience the hero. What does this mean? Your audience is that hero, saving the day for themselves or those around them. Make them the hero. Your part as the brand is the guide to help them on their way. If you're lucky enough for the real hero to involve you on their quest for success, your role is to help them overcome an obstacle in their path. This is such an important aspect, that your customer is the hero of the journey. Let them win. So turn down the "we're amazing" soundtrack and tell a different story of success, that of your customer, that they are amazing. Next point here, mirror against the opposite strategy. Now, what does that mean, you might be ask? I'm asking too. Mirror against the opposite strategy refers to this. In his Harvard Business Review article, Roger Martin highlighted a point of view that is refreshingly simple, yet a beautifully effective tool to test your strategy. His point was this: if the opposite of your core strategy choices looks stupid, then every competitor is going to have more or less the exact same strategy as you. Woo! If the opposite of your core strategy looks stupid, then every competitor is going to have more or less the exact same strategy as you. Interesting point. Can the opposite of the strategy be tested? To target poor individuals who don't want or aren't willing to pay for comprehensive wealth management services by providing crappy customer service. No. This is not what it should be. So you don't want to have this opposite strategy word. It doesn't work like that. And he goes on here. I'll read the first part to make more sense. He spoke of a strategy he reviewed for global wealth management, which was to target individuals who wanted and were willing to pay for comprehensive wealth management services by providing great customer service across the breadth of their wealth management needs. So he opposited that and said, great. So if we want to target poor individuals, do we provide bad customer service? No. Get my point? So you don't want to always think that your strategy has to be the opposite of something is. This is something that I love. Always follow through. The art of follow-up is powerful. The most effective way to develop trust is to plant your flag firmly in the ground for what you want to be remembered for and follow through on that promise consistently. This is important. The aspect of follow through. As you follow through, you will win the game of marketing. Your brand will be much stronger. Listen, my name is Ramon Ray. This is The Rundown with Ramon. And I want to remind you today, I challenge you, I dare you, be more clear on what you really, really want in life. Ask yourself, do you even want to be in business? Understand this is no Shark Tank. This is no commercial break. This is not a TV show. There's no music or soundtrack in life or business. It's just you and your hustle. Are you hungry enough to get to where you need to be? What are your prices like? Are they premium or are they the cheapest in the market, going all the way cheaper and cheaper and cheaper, which is not a recipe for success? And I want you to ask yourself every single day, what do you do best? And then after you ask yourself what do you do best, I want you to let somebody else know that you care. Let somebody else know you're thinking about them. Let somebody else know that they matter. Once again, my name is Ramon Ray. This is The Rundown with Ramon, and I'm so glad you're here today. Go make a difference in somebody else's life because the world needs you and you are